Grenade star. We're gonna push this out of the frame. It's fine. We can talk now. But it just edits it out. Okay. Relaxed. Doesn't matter. We're just gonna have a normal conversation. Let's have fun. There's no pressure.
This chair down. There you go.
No pressure.
I know. Okay.
Yeah, we'll just go from that. I don't even really want to like. I've flirted with like introductions and not doing introductions.
Okay.
Because like naturally, I think we will go there.
Sure.
So I think we just riff, and I will lead the conversation, and I'll have fun. And I have some cool notes, but
The
goal is to just have a fun conversation.
okay. All right, ready?
Okay, now you're making me nervous. Oh my gosh. Okay.
Why?
Yeah. I don't know. Stop smiling at me. Okay.
It's nice in here, though, isn't it?
It's very nice.
I'm like, a
I'm like, I gotta like.
Okay.
Okay. All right, I'm situated. That's fine.
Look here. Just
I'm ready.
look at me. Look like you were talking to me.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Okay.
Cool.
I'm ready.
All right, ready?
Yeah.
All right, Chloe. I was looking at your Instagram and I saw a really cool post, and I feel like it's a good way to start off the podcast. So, what if he orders oat milk in his latte?
Oh, it would lead to a really big conversation. Definitely, he would be knocked down a couple points.
So, if he's a 9, what does he become? If he's like, he must have oat milk. He must have it.
I think he drops down to a 3.
A 3?
Yeah.
6 points?
I think for a lot of different reasons. I think it shows kind of his own view of health and his like mentality towards a lot of different things, honestly.
But it's
like,
just milk.
I know.
It's sort of milk.
It sounds stupid, but I think it shows actually a lot about someone.
Please,
if he's like,
digest.
first off, if he's ordering an oat milk because his like tummy hurts drinking real milk, I don't know how much he's going to be able to handle a relationship with me.
Why?
So this is where this comes from. I spent years being vegan, and I was like heavily kind of indoctrinated into that that kind of paradigm of thinking of, oh, we are like wrecking the planet by eating meat, and we need to be all vegetarian. We got to be eating cashew milk and soy milk and oat milk and all those things. Yeah, it's not actually milk. But I was so heavily indoctrinated in that kind of ideology of like, this is like wrecking climate change. This is so bad for, regular milk is so bad for our health and all of that. And I know what it's like to be in that thought process and to view health in that way. And I don't want to go back to that. And so if a man is like ordering oat milk, I'm like, have you not done your research? Have you not like...
What if he just likes oat milk?
What
if he hasn't... What if he just is like, what do you mean, Chloe? Like, it's just milk. Does it really matter that much?
So that's what worries me.
Because... Okay.
What if you haven't thought about it?
Yeah, so I experienced this in one of my last relationships, where someone that I was with was very plant-based when we first started our relationship, but she was very, and I think this is like the key differentiator here, because people ask me all the time, like, oh, could you like date a vegan or something like? I don't think I could either, but here's the thing.
Okay.
When I started that relationship, she was very plant-based. But the reasons why was I just thought this was the healthy thing to do. And like, why should I not be? Right? She was very open to changing. Right? And I think that's like the differentiator is like, once I gave her different information and different sources, she did her own research and then not only like looked around to see, oh, is this a better way? And then also like tried out the better way. She quickly changed and turned into a total like animal-based girly. And so what if he's just like, well, like,
So I 1000% understand, and I get your point. Like 1000%.
But still, it's
Here's my thought process on it. Like, yes, 100%, and no one's going to be perfect. And of course, you're going to like share new things with people, and if they're open, that's really great. And I would hope that someone I'm dating is open to new thinking and new ideas. But I'm 30 years old. I'm probably dating at least a 28 to a 40-year-old.
yeah.
They really haven't like dove into health in any way, shape, or form. Like they're so on that side of things.
Yeah.
Like I think it's just that.
Okay,
It's interesting. I had a conversation with one of my girlfriends about this the other day, and we were talking about a lot of the stuff that happened during the pandemic and everything. And it's like, yeah, of course, no one knew what was going on. And so many people quickly dove into getting vaccinated and into just kind of agreeing with everything that was put out there.
Yeah.
And I'm like, totally understandable. And I kind of want a man who's a little bit more forward thinking.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
Let me really think about this and not just like kind of be a sheep in the masses and follow along. So I think it's the same thing with the oat milk, where it's kind of like, did you think about this a little bit? So it's a joke. And also it's kind of like, yeah, I'm really curious. Like,
kind of
have
not
you
a
heard of raw milk? Do you
Or even just milk.
yeah. Do you buy like from organic farms? Like, what is your view on what it means to be healthy? Because in like my household with my kids, like they're going to be eating butter, milk, cheese, meat. Like I'm not going to be making them like bowls of cereals and things like that. Like we're not doing that. So I think it's just like, okay, if you're a successful man, if you are a healthy man, that's someone I would be attracted to. Why are you drinking oat milk?
Okay, fair.
Unless you have a severe allergy and you're like,
But then why even need the milk at that point? It's not even milk. Like personally, like for me, milk doesn't right now in my life, milk doesn't suit me that well.
Right. And
I notice it.
Sure.
I just don't drink it.
there you go.
But butter is fine. So I just put butter in my coffee every day.
There you go. There you go.
Exactly. On that note, a little bit, something that I thought was a really cool, I can't remember who talked about this. Someone important I was listening to, but they were talking about doctors and like their response during COVID. And it might've been like Brett Weinstein. And he was like, when you're interviewing doctors, because you probably should interview your doctors, because if you're going to trust them to make, important decisions about your health and very serious decisions, you should probably interview a few and make sure you have the best one. A really good question to ask is like, what did you do during COVID? Right?
What did I do?
No,
during
what
COVID?
did they do during
I
COVID?
know.
Right? Like,
It's a great
were they
question.
someone who just sat back and took in all of the information and just followed along, or were they someone who questioned it? I actually think it's a very good question, because it's like, we want our doctors to, one, know health, but you also want them to somewhat be like polymaths, in the sense of you can take principles from many different subjects and integrate them into a holistic approach towards health, because it's not all just about prescribing medicine and looking at numbers, and it's about understanding human and understanding nutrition and understanding circadian health and understanding how do you balance ancestral living principles with modern science, because modern science brings so much to the table, but also like it brought mRNA vaccines, and maybe that's not the best thing for everybody to just blatantly prescribe. So I think you brought up that point, and it was something I hadn't really thought about, was like, it's a really good litmus test for like someone's, I don't know.
Someone being a forward thinker.
Yes. And critically thinking about very large decisions, or do they just push it to the back of ostrich, head in the ground? I don't care.
And just personally, that's not the type of man that I want to marry in my households.
Fair.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that was the whole thing with the oat milk. Some people definitely got a little bit mad in my DMs about it. And other people laughed and they're like, I totally agree. So yeah, most of the things that go kind of viral on my page are very controversial topics. And it usually has to do with veganism, actually.
Yeah. Because people are so heated about the subject. So I want to dive into this, because I think you have there's so many reasons I invited you on the podcast, but one is your experience and what you do for a living. And I think it's very powerful because I think a lot of women, particularly women, and that's something I want to get into. So we'll start with this. I think a lot of women struggle with disordered eating patterns, negative body image. I have ideas of why that is very prominent, but I'm curious to hear your thoughts as to why you think women struggle with that way more than men.
You know, it's really interesting. Like the more and more, so I dealt with an eating disorder for 11 years of my life. And now I'm 30 years old. I've been recovered for nearly 6 years now. And like every single year, I unravel and understand my whole journey a lot differently. And it's like every year there's a new oh, this was one of the main sources and causes. And it just kind of all starts to make sense. The more and more I talk to women and I hear their journey and I understand it, I'm like, oh, okay, this is where all of this is stemming from. So an eating disorder is not something that you just wake up one day and you go, I want to have an eating disorder.
Yeah.
Like, this sounds great. It's, you know, years of feeling like I'm not worthy enough and I feel like I need to be perfect to prove myself. It's years of being told by diet culture, you shouldn't have the hamburger, you shouldn't have the steak, you should have the salad to be a good girl. Yeah. It's like years of, you know, you relating to the masculine in a certain way. I know for me, that was a big part of it. I think my brothers, I love them, but I think they were a big kind of source of my, source of the narratives that I created of like, I'm not good enough and it's weaker to be a woman. So like, I have so many core memories of me just feeling like I'm not as good as my brothers. I'm weaker than them. I'm not as strong as them. I am stupid. I'm a stupid little girl. I just get in the way. Like I had all those narratives growing up, which made me then feel unsafe in my femininity because I didn't see it being portrayed as a very like powerful, beautiful thing. I think my mom was very in her masculine as well. And that created this whole dynamic where it's like I felt very uncomfortable stepping into my womanly body, having curves, growing breasts, getting your period. Like all of that was very like, whoa, now I feel very uncomfortable. I don't feel like I was held in that. And I feel like a lot of women aren't held in that. And they don't even understand their menstrual cycle. I didn't even tell my mom for like a whole year that I had my period. I was so embarrassed to tell her.
That you've had it. That you got
I
it.
had it, that I got it. I remember finally I told her, I was like, by the way, remember you said you were going to like take me out shopping if I got my period? Well, it happened. And I was so nervous and that was it. And then she's like, well, are you good? You have things? I'm like, yep, I do. I didn't hold her sister. So I was like, yep, totally fine. I steal everything from her bathroom.
Did your older sister know?
No, I don't think so. I don't think I really kind of told people, which, and this is what I found really congruent with a lot of my clients and a lot of my girlfriends. Like it wasn't an exciting thing. A lot of moms, actually, I have a couple clients where their moms were very mad. They're like, oh, now you got your period. Like now we got to buy you extra stuff. Now you're going to be moody. Now you're going to be emotional. Yeah. And like, it was really frowned upon.
Yeah.
So by the time it came to, I was 14 years old and that's when I lost my period. And I didn't even think to like tell my mom, to raise a red flag about it. Cause I kind of was like, well, this thing sucked anyway.
Yeah, it's a benefit.
Yeah. So I didn't have it for 11 years until I finally was in my mid-20s. And I was like, my end goal is like family and kids. And that was a big push for me to be like, you have to get your period back. Yeah. Like there's no more going down this route. And I didn't even really understand all the negative complications. But to go back to your question here, I think women get eating disorders because there's so many things battling against them, against their self-worth and against their feeling of enoughness. And when we don't feel enough, we feel like we got to control the situation so that we can prove it. And there's no greater thing in life to control than food in your body. Like it's such a like big thing that's just right there. That's like everything's like
it's a constant too. You have to do it every day.
Constant, yeah. And it's something that can like you can get that dopamine hit every single day of like, oh yeah, I only ate 1,000 calories today. Like I'm good. Keep on going. And so I think a lot of women don't really understand their innate worth and value. And that leads to them searching for it externally.
Yeah. Okay. I think, well, one, I totally agree. And this is something like, it's actually fascinating to share with people when I'm so interested in periods and cycles and birth. And because like, and people are like, oh, like you're interested in that? Like,
You're interested in all that?
oh, I think it's so fascinating and it's beautiful. And like, I'm so into, I have a friend, Maddie, who runs this company, awesome company called Tala Twins, shout out. And she is a doula as well. And she runs a company called Mad's Birthwork. She's so freaking smart in this realm of during and postpartum care. And it's such a beautiful, like, to kind of go back to your point of like this negative outlook on periods, because it is a burden in some people's minds. And I totally understand that. Like it is somewhat of a burden. I don't have to deal with that. And it doesn't, the hormonal changes, the mental, emotional changes that go along with that, the cost and time and energy to deal with that, and it's somewhat unexpected. It's not something that happens on a routine basis, somewhat.
Well, it should be happening.
It should be happening on a routine basis. You're right. And so I see why females may be inclined to take that outlook on it. Like, if I didn't have to deal with this, my life would be better. And then, so.
Well, to take it just a tiny step further, I think it really comes down to rejecting the feminine in a big way. And this is just what I've worked with over 1,000 women as one-on-one at this point. And this is what I see time and time again. They do not understand the power of their intuition. They do not understand the power of their emotions, how their emotions can lead them to authenticity in life and lead them into alignment in their life. They really reject receiving. They reject surrendering and trusting. And I think the period being gone is just such a physical representation of how far they've gone away from that innate feminine energy. And there's physical reasons, but then you got to look at, like, we as women we have such a special relationship with food. We are like the givers of life, the creators of life. We breastfeed our children. Like, we are making sure that the children are fed. We feed our husbands. Like, we just, for so many years, for millennia, us women have been kind of in charge of food.
Yeah.
In a big way.
Yeah.
And we're so intricately connected to it.
And like providing nourishment.
And providing nourishment, right?
In all the senses.
Yep.
I mean, men do that too, but it's like, I'll give you the resources. You make the nourishment from the resources.
I'll make it into a meal.
Yeah.
And make sure everyone is fed.
Yeah.
So I think we have such an intricate relationship with it. And when things go off with food, like, it's just such a representation of how we've just totally disconnected from like our truth as women. Now, I'm not saying like women need to be cooks, women need to be like, that's not it, but it's like understanding that we just innately, I mean, think about this back in the Bible. Like, this is like crazy. I'm not even Christian, but if you read the Bible, Genesis, you have Adam, you have Eve. Eve eats the fruit. She eats something, and then she is naked, and then she feels scared, and then she feels like she did something wrong and bad, and then they're outcasted from the garden. It's like, from the beginning of time, we as women have kind of been told that like we're bad for eating. Yeah. And it has really kind of messed us up, I think, in a lot of ways.
That is kind of interesting.
Yeah.
It's very interesting to my outlook on a lot of things, especially when it is in terms of male versus female, is it's all evolutionary based, right? And that main evolutionary driver is birth. It is the most important thing that me and you can essentially do in our lives, evolutionary speaking, because it's what propagates us. It's what keeps the human species going. It is our goal in life. Whether we like it or not, it's kind of our goal.
Well, and your body is like driven.
Yes, your body wants you to do that goal. And, I'm totally like, do whatever the hell makes you happy. And that's...
Oh, totally. But I tell women, I'm like, irrespective of if you want kids or not, you need to be ovulating, because that is what your body is driven to do. And you will be radically unhealthy and unbalanced.
It's also just like the healthy state. And, I think a really big, I'm curious to hear your thoughts. We have never talked about this, but naturally it's coming up. Like, so I've first heard about this woman, you familiar with Louise Perry by any chance?
No, actually.
She was on Jordan Peterson a few times. And and she wrote this book called The Case Against the Sexual Revolution. And one of her key points in there is like, when birth control was invented, it radically skewed the game of mating, sex, birth. And because it made women now treat sex like men do somewhat, and view it as like a recreational activity that isn't sacred, that isn't something to be like honored, because there's no longer the risk of getting pregnant that drove the whole being of women naturally treating sex a little bit more carefully than men do because of the risk.
Totally.
And I totally understand not wanting to get pregnant, but also just blatantly prescribing, like, I don't know, probably way more than 50%, but definitely 50% of young women on birth control.
I would be interested to know the stat, actually.
At least in America.
A lot.
At least in America, it's got to be over 50%, right? When you're like 16, 17, 18?
Yeah, I mean, it's pushed on you. Every single time you go to the gynecologist with anything, I have a little late cycle, I have no cycle, I have acne, I have, migraine,
Acne's the craziest one. It's like, oh, we'll solve your acne with birth control?
Well, because it's hormonally driven.
Yeah, but still, it's like, they just don't even...
But it is crazy. Like, because you have acne, we're going to go ahead and stop this process of ovulation.
Yeah.
And, like, you're no longer going to be creating progesterone. Like, it is crazy that we so quickly just go to that. So I work with girls who lose their period completely, and they will go to the gynecologist. A lot of them are very... Okay, I shouldn't say this, actually. Anyone in any body size or shape can have anorexia or orthorexia or an eating disorder. But what we often see is a large majority of those who have been restricting are living in a very smaller body. They have, all these habits like excessive exercise. And they'll go to the gynecologist and be like, I haven't had a period for 15 years. And instead of the gynecologist being like, well, your body fat is too low, you're running too excessively, you're only eating salads, you're not eating any meat, you're not eating any carbohydrates.
What lifestyle brought you there?
No, the first thing they do is they go, okay, well, let's get your period back by putting you on birth control. This is one of the biggest fallacies out there. And if you're a woman, and if you've ever been told this, let's like regulate your cycles via birth control. Let's get your period back by birth control.
How does that make sense?
It doesn't, because this is what birth control does. It tells the hypothalamus to pretty much stop, follicle stimulating hormone, luteinizing hormone from being released, and you're not going to ovulate. So it stops ovulation. So the idea that we're going to get your period back by stopping ovulation, what I want every woman to know is that it's just a withdrawal bleed. Like, it just makes you feel like you have a period, but you're not getting any of the beautiful benefits of going through that natural cycle. Not just like for thyroid health, for your metabolism, so many different reasons why you need proper estrogen and progesterone levels in your body, your sex drive, like so many things. But I forget where I was going with that. It's needed in so many different areas of your health. And also emotionally, that's where I was going to go with it. That like cycle as a woman, I've learned to really appreciate it after not having a period for 11 years, then getting it back. Going through that whole cycle of like the follicular phase, you feel really strong, you feel really guided, you feel directed, you feel like, okay, let's go, let's accomplish. Ovulation, you feel totally different. You feel like, I feel so hot, I feel so flirty, I feel so open, I feel so just like ready to connect. Then you go through your little like luteal phase, and you go through, okay, now I'm like starting to really think about life. Now I'm starting to analyze everything. And then you go through your little winter, during your period, and you kind of cocoon in, and then you come back out. I think that is what prevents burnout with women, is that we go through these phases.
Yeah. And it's a natural monthly, 28 days.
It naturally resets me. I'm like, okay, I can't constantly be going like this. Yeah. I don't work on a 24-hour clock like men do.
Yeah.
And so having this period come in, it helps me
you do somewhat, but there is a large governing cycle.
Thank you. There's a large governing cycle here where I'm feeling differently every single day in my cycle. Now, I've lived without it, so I know what it's like to be flatlined.
Yeah.
And that's when you just push yourself way too hard. That's when you go into adrenal fatigue. That's when you go into insane digestive issues. That's when your health just starts to really break down, because I could push it every single day working out. Now I can't. I'm on period day 1 today. No way in heck am I going to the gym.
She's still in the
it's
podcast studio.
And I'm still in the podcast studio. I'm sitting up vertical. It's great. But I'm not going to go to the gym today. Why would I? I need to slow down. I need to honor the fact that I'm bleeding today. And a lot of women, we're in this world where we're trying to push women to be little mini men, then like work, go, create more, do more. And then that just radically burns us out.
Yeah. It's such a beautiful process. And I actually find it really interesting because I find that a lot of women don't really know that. They might know the phases, but they don't realize that they should naturally change their diet, change their exercise, their stress levels, their movement patterns, their sleep cycles, you could just call it stress overall in any form. They need to change that via their cycles. And I actually think I was in a beautiful relationship recently where I really started to take that into consideration with how I interacted with my partner.
Yeah.
And how I was like, I am keeping track of her cycle so that I know how I need to change my forms of communication, the way I interact to make that, better. And it was a learning process, that's for sure.
I think it's really important. I know, for me, and I think this is really kind of just across the board. Everyone's different, right? So you do have to understand each woman specifically, where is their cycle taking them. I think for a lot of women, it's like that week before the period, I cannot take any negative feedback. I cannot take any rejection. I can't be on a sales call and then say no. It's just literally going to wreck me. But in my follicular phase, I'm like, it's all good. Give me all the criticism. I can take it. So it's important for for a partner to know hey, that is not the time to start being can we have a big conversation? And this is what I'm noticing about X, Y, and Z. I'm going to sit there and I'm going to punch you in the face. I'm going to be so mad. I'm going to be just unable to really hold it in the way that I would want to hold it.
So how do you approach that then? Are you I can't have this conversation right now?
Yeah, I think being just open and communicative thank you.
You're welcome.
Being open and communicative with, this doesn't feel like the best time for me to really dive in and approach this conversation.
Yeah. Okay.
It's going to depend on every single situation. And I'm not saying we're so fragile and you can't touch us during that time, but I think it is good to know that we do end up being a little bit more short, a little bit more irritable, and just our brain doesn't work.
It's not optimal.
The same.
It's not optimal for that type of experience.
Yeah,
just like it's not optimal for me to work at 1 a.m. in the morning.
Totally.
Right? I could do it. I could wake up and do work, but probably not the best time to do the best work.
Probably not the best time
but
to do the best work.
It can get done if necessary.
Yeah.
You're just going to be kind of operating on a lower state of physiology for that specific activity.
Totally.
Yeah, it's very interesting, and it's also, it kind of ties into this boss babe, go grind, get all the stuff done, and you're a very successful entrepreneur. So I think it's inspiring, one, and two, it's, as a white hetero cisgendered male, I have I'm on the
with he him pronouns.
Yes, with he him pronouns. I'm at the bottom of the totem pole to express opinions on this. Well, maybe. I'll do I have your
Yeah, go for it.
Okay, I have your consent to talk about this. Thank you.
Just making that very clear.
Very clear, very, very clear. My listeners will know that I don't give a fuck about it. So, yeah, to a certain point, I respect people. But yeah, I think it's very interesting, and I'm very in also dating dynamics and all this stuff, and it forces a lot of the zeitgeist, the culture of grinding, just go do the stuff. And I agree, it's connecting with your feminine. And so back to my friend Mads that does this birth work, she is such a beautiful community of women honoring their bodies. She posts pictures of women they're all naked with their babies out in the forest, and I'm this is so cool because we don't have that anymore. We used to live in these small, tight-knit tribes. The men would hang out with each other mainly, and the women would hang out with each other mainly. And I think, and most of our interactions would be with the same sex. And surely you had partnership, but that wasn't so much of a large percentage of your like daily relationship. And I think it's this lost connection with like our mothers and our grandmothers and the intuitive wisdom of keeping everything that is the structure that we live in like nourished and safe and healthy. And I think we're just missing that. So, and I think you're doing an amazing job too. It's like you both do like this amazing type of work to bring women back to
community, back to themselves, back to being vulnerable with other women.
Yeah.
You know, one of the most beautiful kind of memories I have in my mind was recently, actually. So my sister has a 10-month-old. She went through the whole birthing process. She started it at home. She tried to have a home birth twice. One ended up in an emergency C-section. The other one ended up in a whole long, complicated story at the hospital ended up. But what was really beautiful, though, about that moment is we had her at the home. We had all the lights turned down low. We had her in this nice, beautiful silk robe. She's sitting on a little, what do you call those exercise balls that you sit on?
Swiss ball? Like
yeah,
a big one?
Yeah, she's
big
on
one?
like a big Swiss ball. And I think it's just so beautiful to just watch the interaction of like my mom and her. And just like my mom had 6 kids. She had 3 of them at home. She had all of them unmedicated. And to just watch my mom give my sister this like wisdom and advice that like, yeah, her partner's there. And of course, we're so glad that Ryan was there. He's the support. And like the people that mattered, I think the most to my sister was really that like advice that she got from my mom.
Yeah.
Like how to breathe, how to relax, what's going to happen. And I think we see this. Well, actually, maybe I should say we don't really see it too often, but I think we see it in those who are more reaching for the home births. We see that there is this, you have your midwife, you have your doula. I was born by a midwife. I was born in a bathtub at the top of the mountains in Santa Barbara.
Aw.
And like you do have that passing of wisdom that happens in that space.
All we see is either one, I talked about this recently, like we only see either the negative outcomes of like home birth, right? Like the negative, the crazy things that can go wrong.
Yeah.
Or we get this like super modernized, industrialized hospital birth setting.
Yeah.
Which is like weird, like really weird. And also like, I don't know if you know this, but like, I think, okay, I don't know that much about birth, but they put women's legs like up in stirrups.
You want to be more in
that's
the
not,
right
it's like not the right way to do it.
And
That's
I
the reason they
shouldn't
do
speak
it.
because I haven't been through birth, but yeah.
But that's not the way that like it's meant to happen. And I thought that it was like a king.
Well, could you imagine kind of like...
I couldn't imagine being in that position.
Could you imagine trying to like push out a big poo in that position? Yeah, like that's just kind of awkward.
Yeah.
It's just I think my sister, I wasn't there at the actual birth in the hospital, but I did see videos afterwards, and she was on her knees and
yeah, and it's just such a beautiful process. And I think we like, if you can imagine back in the day, and even like not that long ago. And also, like, all around the world, people experience birth in so many different settings that I think we just don't see because, like, we don't get accustomed to that.
Well, I think a lot of women don't have connection with their bodies and they really fear. I mean, I talk with women that can't even, like, understand if their body is wanting a banana or not. Like, they're overthinking it. Well, is it too many carbs? Is it too much sugar? Should I not have it? Should I have it after I have some protein? Like, they overthink it all. So then I think when you ask a woman who's been, in large part, very disconnected from the power of her body, that's going to be a really scary process to go through birth. And I get why they would not trust it. They would want to just, like, give me the epidural. And I'm not saying epidurals are, are wrong or bad. Women shouldn't get them. But I'm just saying, I think that's why a lot of women wouldn't feel comfortable even thinking about doing something like a home birth because they don't have, and maybe that's the one moment that they finally do have that type of connection with their body where they're like, whoa, okay, my body knows and understands what to do. But I work with women all day long who just second guess constantly the wisdom of their body. And it's sad. It's sad because I think that there's a lot of wisdom in our body and there's a lot of feedback that we get.
Yeah.
And women are just like too afraid to listen to it because they're like, oh my gosh, I'm really craving like cheese and sauciness and meat and all that. But then they're going to get in their head, they're going to be like, that's so many calories.
And it's so bad for you because, it's like,
and it's so bad for you.
Yeah.
I shouldn't be eating meat, and this is bad, and I need to be eating lean, turkey breast and like all of that. And yeah, it's just like, it is sad to see that women for a large part have really kind of stepped away from understanding what is good for them.
Yeah.
And they reach a lot for external sources. I met with this one client. We were working together for like 2 years actually. And she kept on coming to me so like afraid of carbohydrates, so afraid. And I would meet with her and I would like, okay, let's talk about this. I break down the fear, help her out. And then she'd come back next week. But what about this? And I finally was like, where are you getting this?
Yeah.
Like, wait a minute. Like, she was really afraid. She was pregnant at the time. I helped her get pregnant with 2 of her kids. She was really afraid that her baby was going to be too big if she ate carbohydrates. And I was like, where, like, what, who told you that? And she's like, oh, well, this doctor, and they wrote this book, and I listened to all their podcasts. And I'm like, we need to stop with that. Like, there's so many...
the baby's going to get too big because they're eating carbs?
Yeah.
And then the bigness will have issues with birth?
Painful birth
Yeah.
to a baby that is, not at a good, healthy weight. There's a lot of fears there. And I was like, okay, we need to, like, we live in such a fear-mongering kind of energy state with food in a lot of ways, where it's like, we got to hate the fats, we got to hate the carbs, we got to hate the meat. It's like we're always trying to hate
we have
something.
too much information now. Back in the day, there was no information. The information was, how does this make me feel? That's literally the only thing you
and
could...
common sense, right?
Yeah,
like a
well,
bag
like-
of Doritos has how many ingredients in it versus a sweet potato, and then we judge carbs on the same level. Doritos, sweet potatoes, all carbs are bad. I'm like, I'm not sure that's actually true.
Yeah, well, I guess most of my point was like, you were correct. And we have all this like nutritional research, and also like nutritional research is like one of the more flawed research. It's
Did I
needed.
tell you that I studied epidemiology in school? Public health and epidemiology.
Wow, you were like totally in it.
Oh, no, totally out of it.
Okay.
But taking those classes.
Yeah. It's like, oh, we know exactly like all of these things. It's like, how was this study done? Oh, you asked people like how much meat did you eat over the last year?
With no understanding of quality, no understanding of their thought processes, their emotion, like their ability to process their emotions, to work through trauma, their connection to nature. Like, are they using their phone till 1 p.m. or 1 a.m. every single night? In those classes, it made me really understand just how flawed nutritional science is, how young of a science it is, and how we really actually don't understand that much about the body. And then everyone goes and creates these books based off of these studies that are cherry picking all of this information. So I really like my work, what I do with girls, because they come to me highly orthorexic, so fixated
Which
on
means?
orthorexia is an unhealthy obsession with healthy eating.
Okay.
The healthy eating is determined by what they believe to be healthy or not.
Yeah, so it's a line that can be moved all over the place because it's more your relationship with it. And how does that?
I've been orthorexic in eating a keto diet. I've been orthorexic in eating a vegan diet.
Yes.
Like, it's all just like what you perceive to be right. It really has a lot more to do with perfectionism. There's a lot of OCD in there and all of that. But a lot of these girls come to me and they're like, no, this is the right way to eat. I have to eat this way. And it takes a while to process through. I'm like, okay, but you don't have your period, but you're not sleeping well. You have digestive issues. Like, your body is telling you and guiding you that like this is not the right way to eat for you.
And I think that's like one of the most important parts of it is I shared with you this recently. Like, and this was kind of my point earlier, like all this information is almost a distraction because we just need to learn how the damn food makes you feel.
Yeah.
And like, that should be one of the biggest indicators of whether or not that meal is good for you in that moment, because sometimes I shouldn't be having a huge amount of carbs. Like last night, I shared on my story, I ate a 2,000 calorie meal with 2 cups of rice, but I didn't eat. I ate some rice early in the day, but I just had played a massive hockey game that was very intense for me.
Sure, yeah. So you felt like, so this is the whole thing. I think especially women, when we don't feel safe, we as women are always craving safety. Like, is that a dark alley? Should I be walking down that dark alley? Is my door locked? Like, we're always trying to figure out, like, do we feel safe? It's a huge part of kind of our psychology. when we haven't created safety in our life, so many ways that we can do that. When we haven't created emotional safety, when we haven't created safety in who we are, we're always going to fly it up into the mind, because the safety no longer is found in the body. And so the mind's going to take over, because the mind's like, how do we get to a more safe situation?
Yeah.
That's when we start to overthink the food. We're totally disconnected from this. They don't feel this. They're only up in their mind. And if you ask them, well, how's your body feeling with this? They don't even really know how to say that or to articulate it. They're just so in their mind about it.
About, oh, well, this person said this, I need to eat this way because that has
and I'm like
that.
And then they can't trust the fact that, so with a lot of girls that I work with, I'm like, listen, you've had a, say, negative perception of a chocolate croissant for years. But go ahead and go to a coffee shop, cute little environment, be with your girlfriends, have a chocolate croissant, and tell me that your body didn't love it. Like, we overthink it though, but it can't be. But it has to be bad. I'm like, there's so much more to food than just even the nutritional component of it. And we have to look at, like, I know for me, a chocolate croissant, that's my mom. That is me living in Paris when I was 15. That is like my heritage. I love chocolate croissants. They, to me, just like make me feel so at home, so just like nostalgic.
It's one of the best pastries.
Yeah, it totally is. And I absolutely love it. But to then come in from a nutritional standpoint and go, this is wrong, this is bad, this is like too much sugar, too much processed flour, whatever it is, like we're not understanding that there's more to nutrition and there's more to health than just the nutritional components of a meal. Yeah. And nothing can replace that like feeling of healthiness when I go and eat the chocolate croissant. Because it feels like home, which allows me to relax, which helps me feel safe, which helps me feel like I belong. And those are the most important things when it comes to like health.
Yeah.
Is like, do you feel like you belong? Do you have community? Do you feel like safe?
Good about what you're doing.
Yeah.
Yes. One of the, what this comes up is a female that has had a very big part in my life and in journey is one of my friends, Camille, who, does similar work to you. And she has this quote that I have said many, many times, and I think it's beautiful, is like, there's no bad thing in the world. There's nothing is bad. Just your relationship with that thing can be bad. So
this is what I studied. I studied dynamic eating psychology, which is not what do you eat, it's who are you as an eater? What thoughts, feelings, and emotions do you bring to the table? Because that's going to be the thing that impacts your metabolism the most.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's really fascinating. That's what got me to unravel out of all of my orthorexic tendencies, my anorexia, everything, is I understood, oh my gosh, it's not about what the food is. It's about my energy towards it. If I'm eating something and I have so much fear over it, I'm literally shutting down the digestive process.
Yeah.
Like
your body's probably going to not want to digest
ache,
it.
Not want to digest it, all of that.
Because it's like, as you actively eat the food, you're like, I don't want this. This isn't good. This is bad for me. So your body's going to be like, this is bad for me. I don't want to do this.
So I love eating nourishing food, and I do. And also I have no fear of food, and I eat everything because I understand that principle.
Yeah.
If I just receive it and just totally welcome it in, my body's strong. My body's going to figure it out. It will take what it needs, leave what it doesn't, and that's okay. And like that got me out of the massive fear, the almost like panic I had of like, it has to be perfect. And I was like, no, it's fine. I actually trust that my body's strong enough to be able to deal with anything. And it's all about me just actually fully receiving it. That spurs into a whole conversation about me learning how to receive in general, which is my whole journey of stepping back into my feminine, because I was extraordinarily masculine for years. And I finally was like, no, it's okay. I can receive that. I can receive the pleasure from food. I can receive the goodness from it. And I don't have to overthink it or think that I'm not worthy to have that chocolate croissant. It's a whole
It's
thing.
crazy how much men don't think about this stuff. I'm just thinking with like, I was just had the thought of like, wow, that has literally never came into my mind.
That's so funny. No, women all the time, they think like, I feel guilty for eating that croissant. I wasn't worthy of it. I didn't deserve it. I didn't earn it. I didn't burn enough calories for it. Like we get on our mind. Food is just very symbolic. Well, I say it this way. Whatever's happening on our plate is happening in the grander scale of our life. It's simply just a mirror.
Explain.
It's simply just a mirror for what's going on.
Okay.
So if we are feeling, I mean, think about it this way. Food is just symbolic for life. Food gives us life, okay?
Yes.
So if we are feeling very hesitant with life, if we are feeling very unsure about it, we're going to see that in our food. We're going to see us feeling very hesitant with eating, very hesitant with exploring. We want everything to be safe. We want it to be exactly the same because over here in life, we're feeling like, holy crap, I feel so unsafe. I need every single day to be the same thing. So I see women all the time just kind of working through their bigger kind of psychological issues through the food.
Through the food.
Through the food.
Yeah. It's something I learned from Peterson was that like women tend to experience negative emotions more than men do in general. Or have the propensity to explore negative emotions. And pretty much most of those negative emotions always come back to the body in some type of body image issue, some type of disordered thought patterns towards themselves. And that usually manifests through the body. Do you find that to be somewhat accurate of a statement?
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, it's really interesting just how much we will think so much about food and not just like relax into the nourishment of it. And I think it's also like kind of a multitasking thing because like I feel like back in the day it was very like longer cooking, longer time and energy. There was no way to just go grab food somewhere.
Yeah.
It had to be prepared by someone. It had to be harvested and gathered by someone. And even more recently, when you could still go to the store, it was still a long process. You couldn't go to the store and just grab sushi and eat it in your car. It wasn't a thing.
Yeah.
Right? And great, awesome. Modern life is so amazing that we have all these supermarkets. But, you know, like in my training as a Czech practitioner, what we taught in terms of diet was this type of metabolic typing where one of the first questions, it was actually really cool. So I'll dive in this a little bit because I find this is very helpful for people. We can hear your thoughts on it too. So one of the two strategies that we learned to help someone give an outline for a potential diet that might work right then and there was what is your ancestry from? And a very simple heuristic for that was, are you a polar type? Which means, are you from the polar regions? Is your skin lighter typically? Or are you from the equatorial regions? And these are two ends of the spectrum. You can be anywhere in between. Are you near the equatorial regions? Darker skin, more carbs.
Sure.
If you're in the polar regions, more animal-based foods.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Whale blubber.
All whale blubber. It's the only thing you can eat, and narwhal blubber. So that was one of the first things. So let's say, okay, let's take that into the consideration. And then the second thing, which was so beautiful, was like this questionnaire that was like, what do you crave? What do you crave after a workout? And it was really cool because it was either A, B, or C were the answers. And it was very easy to realize what the answers were. A was a polar answer, B was an equatorial answer, and C was
So if you crave carbs or if you crave
yes. Do
meat
you
or
crave? So like, what type of meat do you tend to go for? Do you tend to go for the fatty cuts, the red meat, the ground beef, or do you go for the chicken, the poultry, the leaner cuts of meat? You know, do you respond better? Do you sleep well when you eat carbs at night? Do you crave sweets? What's your like kind of like? Well, it was a question was like, what was your relationship with sweets? Are you a sweet person, or are you more like the salty? You know, you don't really care for it.
Sure.
Are you? This is a really big one. I love asking people about this because it's hard for me to think of the opposite side. I'm a very polar type, but one of the questions is like, do you eat to live, or do you live to eat?
Interesting.
What's your answer?
I eat to live. Yeah.
Okay.
I
So
eat to live.
yeah. Okay. So that's kind of a philosophical one. So maybe you're thinking too deeply about it, but like, it is kind of philosophical when you're like,
I don't think I love food. I like to eat, but
Oh,
I'm
do you-
not like oh my gosh, I'm already fantasizing about my lunch.
Yeah.
Kind of like lunch is going to be
you're
whatever
kind of in
it
between.
is.
Okay. Okay.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, I'm the
That is
opposite.
it.
I'm so like, I love food so much. I love cooking. I want like the most delicious meal. I look forward to meals so much. And what was really eye-opening for me, one of my friends here in Austin, it really changed my perspective on food, because I didn't always think this, but like I had somewhat of an idea around fit men that we were like really big eaters, and it was really easy to like gain weight and lose weight, and gain muscle and lose muscle. And especially if you were a fit, well-muscled man. And then I met one of my friends who was about the size of me, and he like struggled to eat. He would put sticks of butter in smoothies, full stick of butter.
I don't struggle to eat. I will eat.
Yeah.
I'm not like trying to like force down.
He couldn't
lunch.
eat enough calories.
Yeah.
And I helped him out by saying like, put butter in your coffee, and he wasn't mixing it. It would just all sit on the top. I was like, what are you doing, bro? Come on. And so that helped him out. But my point being is, he was the total opposite. He was like, the question is almost like, could you go your life without eating? If you didn't need to eat, would you not eat?
Oh, I don't get those people. Yeah, I don't fall on that.
Yeah, because I think you're more on the side of me a little bit. You might be
I don't get those people who are like, I didn't think about food today. I'm like, I mean, I don't sit there fantasizing about food, but like, I'm eating breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And I'm excited about eating breakfast, lunch, and dinner.
Yeah.
But like, some people are just like totally uninterested, and they're just like, I do this because I have to.
Yeah.
I find that really interesting. I have no idea what that stems from, and I'm not going to try and psychoanalyze that.
Yeah.
But all that to say, I think we can like round it back to, it makes absolutely no sense for there to be one way to eat, one right book, one right diet. But I think all of us are not all of us, but a lot of us are kind of in the hopes of finding that. Instead of understanding that we just are our best nutritionist, and understanding like ourselves, exactly. Instead of like looking for this like perfect book that someone wrote about nutrition. Like, okay.
But you've read a lot of books on nutrition.
Not anymore. So it's so interesting.
Yeah,
so I used to be so fascinated with like nutritional podcasts. I wanted to read any and all book about nutrition, about these new diets and all that. It used to fascinate me so much. You could not like sit me down for a health podcast. I will literally be like
on food.
But
you can sit down for birth.
On nutrition. But I can sit down for what? For like a birthing podcast? Yeah, but that's way different.
Well, it's on health.
It's way different.
Okay, but you could sit down and learn one about your cycles. Like if you had like these two like experts.
I don't even like. Yeah.
You're pretty well versed in that.
Pretty well versed, and so I don't know. I don't ever listen to health podcasts.
Yeah, but with nutrition, it's like the answers are quite simple.
It's quite simple. So this is what I find fascinating about it, and this is what my career has been: is helping people understand what food has meant to them and understanding their psychology around food.
Yeah.
That's fascinating for me. That like tells me so much about a person, so much about their life. At that point, it's just self-development, but I'm seeing it so clearly being played out with food. And I have like an eye for understanding what's actually really happening in their life by how they're going about their meals, how they think about food, how they relate to food, and all of that. That's what I find fascinating, and I could talk like all the day long about it. Yeah. But if someone wants to like argue the like facts of nutrition, I'm like, we're already like, you've missed the mark.
Yeah.
Like
you're drinking the oat milk.
And you even mentioned drinking the oat milk at that point. You mentioned it though, where it's like you look at, what were your ancestors eating? I think a lot of us don't understand that is probably a great route to go. Yeah. Like for me, I'm French. I do really well with bread. Don't tell me about your gluten-free diet. I love bread. Yeah. It works well for me. I do really well with butter and cheese and like all of that. Someone who's maybe of Asian descent won't do as well with cheese.
Yeah.
And dairy.
And there's also like what a lot of people don't realize is, and this was really beneficial for me. I never went and did this, but I learned to pay more attention to it. That especially with carbs, it's not all carbs are related equal. And something I learned from a guy, Rob Wolf, by any chance? He runs Element. He's a big paleo guy. He was like one of the bigger paleo guys back in the day. And he had this really cool protocol for testing your blood glucose after a certain bolus of food. So you would take a certain amount of
bolus of food.
It's a sign. I know.
It's okay.
That's how scientist. I'm a scientist. A bolus. I know I say that, and then people are like, "Oh,
I get it." But like,
yeah, a certain amount of food. So you take like 50 grams of carbs, something like that. I don't know. This is literally how much. I had to download MyFitnessPal do the. Did you see my story? I like posted like the measurements of my food. It's okay. I posted that. I was like, I literally is so not what I do in life. Is track my calories and all the things. So you get like 50 grams of carbs, and you take the ones you eat the most: sourdough, sweet potatoes, basmati rice. I don't know.
Same. That's it.
Yeah.
Syrup, dates.
Well,
So
I think it's more like complex carbs. So maybe you do dates, maple syrup. I mean,
I eat so much maple
you could do
syrup.
that. You could take like a little swig of maple syrup, and then you would test your blood glucose. Like, I can't remember specifically. I would imagine if I had to think through something smart to do, maybe like 30 minutes and then like 90 minutes after. And people will respond completely differently. You will have a completely different response than I do to those foods.
Absolutely.
And then it's probably a good idea to pick the ones that might have less of a blood glucose spike.
But you can even take that further and go, why are you spiking in glucose? Like, what's happening in your life that your body's unable to process? Like, there's going to be variations in everyone.
But
if
it should spike a little bit.
Sure. But if someone's having like major dysregulation issues with sugar, I'm looking at so many other different things.
Like?
That could be, I'm looking at the consistency that they eat. I'm looking at, honestly, and I know this sounds ridiculous, but when you dive deeper into my work, I'm looking how they feel about themselves.
Okay.
Like when we are in constant attack mode, that tells me we're in high cortisol, we're in high inflammation.
Then they can't digest.
Then it's a whole, like, we can't just like, it's a whole, everyone has their eyes closed and we're holding different pieces of the elephant. Have you heard of that? No?
No. I think so.
Yeah, it's I don't even know what you call it, but the idea is like nutritional research can kind of be like every single nutritional guide, like holding on a different part of the elephant blindfolded and being like, you're holding onto the tail and you're like, it's a tree.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
No one can see that it's
They
an
don't
elephant. They don't understand it's an elephant because this is the elephant. It's
So
the foot.
when it comes to someone having blood sugar issues, yeah, sure, maybe we need to monitor food, we need to shift food, but a lot of it is like actually what's really happening. You're in a job that you hate, you wake up at 4 a.m. because you're not sleeping well, you're hating every single moment of your life, you're in a toxic relationship, that's dysregulated.
Yeah, but that's so much work. I just want to focus on food, Chloe.
This is what I'm saying. That doesn't work. Okay? It's so beautiful to think that we can just isolate the food. And I'm not saying food doesn't matter.
Yeah.
But like, we can't just think that because this is the fallacy, and this is what I find a lot of women believe. If I just figure everything out with food, every single thing in my health is going to be fine. And I'm like, that is such an illusion, and that's a fallacy, and that does not actually, it doesn't equate to that.
You could have the perfect diet for you, and it's still not going to get that great.
No, because if you're living totally out of alignment, so let's take this example. I've, dated a lot of different guys that have been very toxic, and it hasn't been good relationships. My nervous system, so dysregulated. It is taking me years. Like for my last partnership, it's taking me 1.5 years to finally feel like me because that's how dysregulated I was. I have pictures that I've taken, I would send to one of our friends, and I'd be like, what is going on with my stomach? I was so bloated. I was constipated. I literally, nothing was happening. It wasn't about my diet. My food has pretty much stayed the same. I've not changed anything in my diet over the last year, but now I no longer deal with bloating. Why? Because I actually worked on I've worked on the healing from the toxicity. I've worked on coming back into myself, having my own feeling of internal power, that own sense of I feel grounded in me. That's so important. When I feel grounded in me, it's very hard to get me bloated. You know what I mean? But when I feel so ungrounded, I feel like I'm rushing through everything in life. Of course I bloated. It doesn't matter what I'm eating at that point.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And to bring this back to you take the feminine approach, I'll take the masculine approach. We're just so super stressed. You're eating so quickly. You're not giving your body time to digest. We eat, I do this. I listen to a podcast. I watch something. Now, I make sure I'm relaxed in that moment. We're just swallowing food so quickly.
Yeah.
Right? You're eating very fast.
Well, the other day I ate a meal when we were talking, and then I was my stomach was so bad. It has nothing to do with the food that I just ate. I knew it was because I was talking, and I'm kind of I'm not taking my time, and then I'm like, oh my gosh, I have food on my face, and now I'm overthinking this, and oh my gosh, and then I was like, my stomach hurts.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay. It has nothing to do with that food I eat all the time. Like nothing was bad.
Yeah, see, I mean, that was a great example because I was like, oh, is it something new? Like, do you eat this often? You're like, no, I eat this all the time.
Like this is just,
Yeah, and you were just like, I know what the answer is.
just like, okay.
Yeah.
I don't like eating in front of people when someone else is not eating and when I'm just like,
Yeah,
oh my gosh, you got like.
It is kind of awkward to eat in
every
front of someone when the other person isn't eating.
Yeah,
It's a
I
weird
feel like I'm
situation.
actually too properly. Then I'm like,
You paying attention?
it's my own issue. It's my fault. I take responsibility for it.
Yeah,
But,
I'll make sure I bring snacks with me next time to eat. Yeah.
I don't eat my snacks anyway. I give you mango today. Yeah.
So to kind of like change it up a little bit, something I find very fascinating is while you are this like super feminine female, you're also a badass athlete. And
Oh, yes.
I think so.
Yeah.
We played tennis recently. You were killing it. You beat me in tennis. And
Oh, you admitted that.
I know. Yeah. I might have given you a few. So I might have changed my game a little bit, but you were really good. And I hit some of my best serves to you. Like like I said, I have ever hit because of volleyball and the biomechanics of volleyball that's better for me. I smoked a few at you and you hit them right back, which is awesome. And you're also a badass high rocks athlete, and not to put you in that category, but you do that.
I love high rocks. You could put me in the category.
Yeah, cool.
But,
Yeah, it's so fun. I want to go to an event, even though I wouldn't participate. I want to go to an event soon. Maybe I'll go to Houston, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe
March
I'll go to
16th.
Houston. When is it?
I think March 16th.
I'll be in Buenos Aires.
Exactly.
I'll be speaking Spanish in Buenos Aires.
That's fine.
Yeah. And yeah, so like, I know that you kind of went through a journey. You were a pretty good cyclist, and
Like bicycle could be like tricycle.
Yeah.
Okay.
And something that I learned, and however we want to go about this, but is like the unhappy triad. No, wait, unhappy triad.
Female athlete triad?
Yeah, the unhappy triad is when women tend to break their knee, they tear their
Interesting.
MCL, their
You're talking about
ACL.
female athlete triad?
Yes, which is
Or RED-S, relative energy deficiency in sport, is what they've now named it.
Yes.
Because it includes men
Yes,
and it includes
very
lots
inclusive.
of things that happen.
yes, and
Yeah.
people who don't identify as men or women.
Gotta throw that in there.
Yeah, we have to throw it in there. Come on. So it's amenorrhea, low bone density, and is it? I'm gonna go with either it's a mental thing or it's excessive exercise.
Loss of period.
Well, it's amenorrhea.
I think it's loss of period bone. Oh, you said amenorrhea.
Yeah.
Yeah, loss of period bone density. Might be heart complications.
Oh, it might be.
I actually can't remember
Yeah.
because now I just go by RED-S, which is relative energy deficiency in sport. It's just sharing like everything that happens on the psychological level, on the metabolic level,
Yeah.
on the like everything from the heart complications to the thyroid to digestive issues and all of that. It's more complete.
Yeah, and it's so wild that like I have never struggled with. Well, I wouldn't say that. I wouldn't say I never struggled with over exercise. It's always been very playful to me, and my exercise has never been steady state cardio. I'm a sport person. I play ice hockey, volleyball, spike ball, tennis, and I find it very fascinating that like a lot of women get stuck in this like super like cardio state, like steady state cardio, doing tons of hours running, cycling, and then they eat very small amounts of calories too.
It's a bad combo.
It's a very bad combo.
Yeah. I just got into running really honestly like 8 months ago. I would have it here and there. I feel like cycling was more my form of like cardio, but then I stopped after I got hit. But I started adding in running, and now I'm like, I love to run. Like I'm running like a 550 mile.
That's
I
crazy.
really push my
Yeah, let's be tired of that.
running.
Yeah.
But I cannot run every single day. I don't think my hormones would let me run every day. I don't think my body would really like that. But yeah, a lot of women, I think they lean towards the cardio because they think it's going to help them lose the most weight.
Yeah.
And burn the most calories.
Yeah, and they're just thinking of that. I think we totally forget about health. Like, and as someone who loves to push myself athletically, I am like making sure that I am like fueling adequately, that I have complete rest days, that I'm not overdoing it. Otherwise, I'm going to end up with, I have clients who, you know, they're 35 years old and they're on like their 10th stress fracture. Like they can't even like walk off the curb without like their bone in their foot breaks.
And
it's
that's
like,
just a total draining. That is like at a
it's
foundational
intense.
level. You have drained your
yeah.
freaking skeletal system
Yeah.
of its nourishment.
but they'll just keep on going.
Because it'll, right? And the whole reason that happens is because your body is out of certain types of minerals and
Your body doesn't run off with thin air.
Yes, and it will
Yeah.
pull them. It will pull the nourishment from your skeletal system to the blood or to the other organs.
Also from your muscles, and your heart is a muscle, and that's really scary. Yeah.
Yeah, it's wild. I also find it very interesting, this like story that women tell themselves, like, if I weightlift, I'm going to get bulky. And I'm like, you try, because have you ever
This year.
like, you go talk to a female who is trying to get big and tell them
You gotta eat so much food.
and you gotta work out so hard
Yeah.
for a long period. I'm like, listen, do this for a year, and then we can have this conversation around if you're getting too bulky or not. Because, like, quite honestly, it's going to take you probably years to get bulky, depending on where you're at. But most women aren't, on that
I
spectrum.
think a lot of the women that we see too that are like properly bulky, I mean, they're on steroids.
Yeah,
Yeah.
not all of them. Probably bulky.
A lot of them. A lot of them.
Maybe
are.
like,
When you see someone who's properly like, dang girl, like,
yeah,
what you doing?
yeah,
Steroids.
yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's really hard to build like that much muscle. Yeah, I've never really gotten that fear. Weight training's great though. I love weight training. But here's the thing with it. With any exercise, really. Exercise is so great. It brings stress to your body, but in a positive way, right? But when you are overstressed, you're just depleting your body.
Yep.
When you have overdone it, you're depleting the body. And it actually becomes one of the worst things that you could do for your health. So a lot of the girls that come to me who don't have a period, like the first thing I do is I'm like, you have to stop working out. Your body's already telling you we don't have enough energy to maintain the normal functionings of our body. A period's not extra. A period's not like, oh, this is an extra fun little thing my body does. No, that is like what your body does. And when it's not
It's
doing
like
it,
essential of female physiology.
1000%. So I'm like, if your body's not doing it, we got an issue here.
Yeah.
But I ran myself. So talk about like now I'm very strong now. I love just athletics, sports, anything like that. I love pushing myself. But I went through years of being obsessed and addicted to exercise. I would exercise for like 7 hours a day. Like I would bike an hour to the gym, work out for 2 hours, bike back another hour, like then do a long walk later on, then do yoga. Like it was literally every single day. It was insane because it just became such an addiction. I needed the high, but I needed more and more intense and longer to get the high. It's the same thing with like alcohol, right? Like you need more beers to then start to feel drunk. So I was exercising so intensely, and I told myself, or how I justified it at the time was, I'm building bone density. This is healthy for me. Like I need to have good cardiovascular health. My heart rate was like resting heart rate was like 35 beats per minute. That's not healthy. And I know we say like athletes have like low heart rates. I don't think it's healthy for an athlete to have a 40 beats per minute heart rate. Like I think that's
50
like,
is good.
yeah, I just think that's not a good sign that our like heart
Body's going
like,
cold. It's slowing down.
Yeah. So I had all of these things. I got a bone density scan, osteopenia at like 18 years old. Like it was just crazy, the depletion that was happening to my body. But I was trying to justify all the working out by saying this is healthy, this is healthy, this is healthy. But like there is such thing as too much of a good thing. And once you've passed that tipping point with the exercise, you're just straight up depleting your body, and it's the worst thing you can do.
Yeah. Something that was always very hard for me when I was coaching people was explaining to them that they have too much stress in their life, and that exercise might not be the best thing right now because you're overstressing it. Your cup is already too flow. The way we explained in the Czech Institute was, and I think it's a good example, is like you have a bucket. You have a bucket of stress, and actually you have different buckets for different types of stress, but they all funnel down and summate, like we talked about on the central nervous system. And when that bucket becomes too full because of stress, whether it's mental stress, whether it's about the job, or relationships, about your food, about your exercise, about something coming up, XYZ. When that overflows, that water that is overflowing will then have effects on different systems in your body, whether it's your nervous system, your skeletal system, your hormonal system, your digestive system. And then that's the way that your body tries to speak to you through those systems to tell you you are doing something wrong right now. You're overstressing yourself. And I think the answer to being unhealthy has always been just exercise. And that is exercise is a key in being healthy.
But it's actually calm your nervous system and de-stress.
Yes.
It's the most important thing.
Yeah.
When I feel like overly stressed, I will not work out and I'll go lay on the grass. I'm like, this is a like park day.
Yeah.
This is me to be in the sun. This is me to just like get my feet on grass. And like but here's the thing. Girls I work with, they'll get in their head about it, but I can't rest because then I'm not burning calories, then I can't eat food, and then I'm going to get fat, and then I won't be lovable, and then people won't see me as successful, and then I'll be alone my whole life. And it's like, that's how much they're thinking, and they're like, I can't just go and sit on the grass.
Because no one will love me.
Yeah. But then it creates this like cycle because their bodies, like their adrenals are shot. They're so bloated, say, all the time.
Yeah.
And then they're like, I got to work this off. I got to become unbloated. So let me just go and like work out more. And it temporarily for like maybe 20 minutes helps it. And then they like have more bloating. And then it's a vicious cycle. And they don't understand that if you just actually stopped and maybe did a light walk, the bloating would go away. You wouldn't have this problem of consistent bloating. It took me years to finally understand this and to like unwire the fear in my head from just like eating but not exercising. It was like definitely highly correlated. I think that's why a lot of girls go towards the cardio and you see them as cardio bunnies and they're just working out like all of the time.
Yeah, it's never been interesting to me.
Cardio bunnies? Dating cardio bunnies?
Yeah. No, not dating cardio bunnies, just being a cardio bunny. I'm like, my body is just like not built for that. And I've never been inclined to do it.
But it's draining. It definitely is draining. I feel it.
That's so boring to me. Like, you couldn't pay me to sit on a freaking treadmill or run. Because I broke I'd shared this with you, but because I broke my femur, my knee doesn't do great on like long asphalt running. But it's fine playing volleyball and ice hockey and all these other games. It doesn't hurt at all. But you give me like literally a 1/4 mile run on some asphalt and it will start to hurt pretty bad.
Yeah. I think running has been helpful for me recently to like process a lot of my just like emotions and like just kind of work through things.
Yeah.
But there's a tipping point where it just becomes a numbing thing. There was a funny picture that one of my clients sent me. I think it was in the Boston Marathon, and someone was holding a sign, and it was like therapy was an option. And I cracked up because how many people are using running just to like numb out and to like run away from their problems. Yeah. So there's always a tipping point, and you got to look at all of that. Like, how am I relating to it? Is this healthy mentally for me, or am I using it as a way to numb out, forget my issues? Like, it becomes a point where it's not healthy and processing, and it's just like, all right, we're just running ourselves into the ground so that we have no feeling. Yeah.
Okay, I want to switch this up a little bit because I want to get your thoughts on a different subject.
Okay. Go.
Bitcoin.
Oh, gosh. Yes.
I think you're very smart in terms of crypto stuff.
No,
and so, like, I don't want to get into like all the different shenanigans with crypto. I'm kind of newer into the realm. I have been paying attention to it for a long time.
Yeah.
And to me, what's fascinating is like the technology behind Bitcoin, because there's so these other coins and these currencies, but Bitcoin stands alone. And you can correct me if I'm wrong, but from my understanding, the most important part of it is that all the transactions are private and publicly visible, right? And there is a finite amount of it. And something that I have heard Michael Saylor talk about a lot
Oh, you know who Michael Saylor is. Look at you.
Yeah, look, I pay attention to it. I just
Owner of MicroStrategy, if you're not sure.
who invests
Just
tons of Bitcoin, like one of the biggest. He doesn't own the most Bitcoin, but he's one of the biggest. He is the
Getting there.
super bullish on. He's the most bullish on Bitcoin. He explained, and then I explained this to my mom because I got her to buy some. It's so crazy because there's no resource in this entire world that is finite.
Yeah, it's brilliant.
Yeah, it's so cool. So I don't know. Share your thoughts on it. Like, why is Bitcoin so important?
Okay, so these are big questions.
Yeah.
I think my interest, I actually learned about Bitcoin in 2015 or 2016. That's when I bought my first Bitcoin. I met someone who was like, I met him at a party. We were standing around this bonfire and we just got in this like locked in through our conversation. He was like, this is everything about this like new way of like money that is going to change the world.
Yeah.
And then he was like, come over to my basement and I'll show you. He was mining Bitcoins. Whoa. He had all of the computers. So I drove over in his red Porsche to his house. And then I was like, maybe I shouldn't be in this guy's dark basement. I don't even know who he is. But right then and there, he's like, take out your phone. Do you have any money? I'm like, I have money. I can maybe put like $3,000 in.
Yeah.
So I bought about $3,000 worth of Litecoin. And eventually I bought some Bitcoin. Didn't think much about it. And the reason why I'm sharing this is because it's going to get to like why I think Bitcoin is important. I then started really getting interested in it 2020 when the pandemic happened. That's when I was like, it's like everything in the financial world just kind of like got unveiled to me. And I was like, wow, this is crazy. We had inflation skyrocketing.
Yeah.
That's when I started literally listening every single Wednesday to the FOMC meetings. Like I would listen to Jerome Powell just talk about, are we cutting interest rates? Are we raising them? Like I'd never even heard those words before. And all of a sudden I'm like, I am so interested in our fiscal system and kind of how we...
Yeah, it's
how money even exists
it's
and
so
how like this
crazy.
whole process happens.
It's all backed on
right?
like the dollar and also
How we print them to infinity.
Yeah, and I think we're a little short on time, so it might have not been the best time to ask this like lengthy Bitcoin question, because I wasn't.
We have
looking at the
11
clock.
minutes left.
I think we only have 2 minutes left.
Oh, okay, great.
Right? Because I think I only had it for 90 minutes, so I think we're kind of at the tail end here. Okay. Maybe we'll have to do part
Wait
two.
for someone to knock.
Yeah, true. We'll might have to do part two in Bitcoin. Yeah, it's just, but on like the kind of to like wrap up that little subject too, somewhat, we don't have to wrap it up, but like, it's just, they control all of the levers in money.
Yeah.
And with Bitcoin, and I think in America, we have this weird perspective on money where your money is safe somewhere. Your bank won't steal from you. They're not going to, at least yet, they're not going to penalize you for doing certain transactions with certain people, but they did during COVID, which was something that was a big wake up for me. Was like, oh, like we're gonna, like in Canada, if you support the truckers, if you've donated to the truckers, then we're gonna take your bank account away. And also, like what a lot of people know is our U.S. government and Elizabeth Warren have been running this little freaking organization in our government. Do you know about this? That has just been debanking people who try to start more cryptocurrencies. And it's so crazy that we just, like some of the biggest generators in our country are just completely getting debanked and not allowed to hold their money because they are actively taking little steps to, one, benefit themselves, benefit the greater community of financial wealth and financial sovereignty, but that directly attacks the system. So we just let people get debanked.
Well, and they also have like huge transaction fees. If you're trying to wire over $5 million, you're going to be hit with so much just fees. I mean, that's how the bank makes their money. But with crypto, we're taking away the middleman, which is great.
Well, people make money. That's the whole process of it, right? The miners, the people who hold the mines.
Sure, it's in a different way.
Yeah, true.
No, it's in a different way. It's less of a middleman. But no, crypto is really fascinating to me. I think any kind of new technology is really fascinating, and I do spend a lot of time researching in it. I invested heavily in 2020. I started buying gold, like actual gold coins. I had like a stack of them, and then I was like, this is pointless. Like, we have kind of evolved out of this. We're not using gold. We're not going to use gold as a stand. Like, we do, But like,
Do you know about Elon Musk recently? What he wants to go do?
no.
He wants to go to Fort Knox and see if we have all the gold we say we have, and he wants to live stream it.
Yeah. See, the whole idea of like everything's. I mean, we're not backed by gold anymore.
But you say we have a certain
1970s. We got off of.
Yeah, they say that we have like 5,000 tons of gold. And it said it's in Fort Knox, and he's like, I want to go live stream to show everyone that.
I love
if it's there or
Elon.
not.
I'm like such a fan.
Same.
But anyways, I was like buying these gold coins, and then I was like, this is like gold doesn't move anywhere. This is not going to be a good store of my wealth at this point. And that's when I heavily, like every single dollar. I had maybe $5 in my bank account, enough to just not get the fee of like you have too little in your bank account.
Yeah.
But every single dollar I own into Bitcoin and then eventually other various cryptos, and traded my way up in 2021.
There we go.
Yeah.
Cool. All right. Well, I don't want to overstay my welcome here in this awesome, beautiful new podcast studio. So, Chloe, thank you so much for coming on. Plug yourself a little bit. I just went on your website and saw your awesome page with all your amazing offers and the testimonials. And for women who want to dive into some of the topics they might have related with you and, all the things, you help people work through that where, promote yourself, please.
Best place to find me is at Flow with Chloe, either on YouTube or on Instagram. Instagram's probably the better place. But if you have any sort of disordered relationship to food, you're caught in the binge restrict cycle, you don't have a period, you are restrictively eating, you're anxious about food, you're fearful of food, maybe you've lost your period, maybe you want to get pregnant and you haven't had a period, then I'm your girl to definitely help you navigate that and have a peaceful relationship with food.
Cool. And I can say, after knowing you and hearing all the stuff we just talked about, but also our previous conversations about this, that you're talking about, it's such an important topic, and it's how women can heal one of the most important parts of their life, of their mindset, and nourish their bodies in a way that will be life-giving to them. So thank you for offering that to women and taking your time to go through your own journey and invest in your epidemiology studies and all the things that got you to where you're at.
Yeah. Thanks for having me on.
Cool. Thank you, Chloe.